We've heard a lot over the past decade or so about how companies can get more competitive by boosting productivity or improving quality results or involving employees. Ultimately, though, it all comes down to one issue, and that's who can deliver the most value to the customer. That hasn't changed, and it never will. What has changed is how. Just what do you have to do to get that value edge? It used to be that if you could do things right the first time, that was enough of a differentiator to give you a value edge. But as more and more organizations joined the quality movement, that wasn't so special anymore. The value edge came from being able to do the right things right the first time, and a thing called customer-focused quality emerged. Well, today everybody's getting customer-focused, or at least they say they are. So where is the value edge coming from today? It's coming from the next dimension of quality, and that's time. What I mean by that is taking time out of processes so that you can be fast and nimble, so you can be flexible, so you can be responsive to the needs of the customer.
When we talk about taking time out of processes, we're not talking about personal time management or just-in-time strategies. We're talking about getting rid of steps that don't add value in the eyes of the customer. When you look at virtually any process in any industry, you find that as little as 1% of the total process time is spent on steps that add value to the customer. Fortunately, most of that lost time can be eliminated. In fact, we know that as much as 75% of the time can be taken out of almost any process. I know that sounds extreme, but in our experience over many years and in many companies, we have yet to find a process where we couldn't take at least 75% of the time out. In fact, that kind of improvement is standard.
Excuse me, Al.
Yeah, what's up?
I just need your signature on this.
And what have we here?
Standard RF-12.
Do I need to read it?
No.
How close are we to completion on this thing?
Oh, have to run it by Terry and Jan for approval, get a project number, legal signs off, send it down to inventory, pick it off the shelf, then it goes to shipping, and see you later.
So we're talking a couple of weeks here?
Yeah. What are you watching?
Oh, it's a program about time. They say that up to 75% of all the time it takes to complete any process can be eliminated. Think about that.
What kind of process?
Any business process. Like processing your RF-12, for example.
Process an RF-12 in 25% of the time it takes now. 4 weeks down to 1.
In order to survive today, companies must respond to customers faster and adapt more quickly to rapidly changing market conditions than ever before.
Uh-huh. Very interesting, Al.
I wonder what people's reactions would be if I said we really were going to take 75% of the time out of our processes.
We can't do that.
We're already working as fast as we can.
Process an RF-12 in a week?
Impossible.
Inconceivable.
But wait a minute. Wouldn't it be great if we could?
Well, yeah, but...
Great? What do you mean, great?
Well, think about the time we'd save.
Couldn't do it.
never happen.
How's it possible to take 75% of the time out of a process? In the past, when we wanted to streamline a process, we focused on what people did in the process. We did things that helped people do their work in less time. The thinking was that if the people in the process are as busy and efficient as possible, then the process itself is as efficient as possible. And we've been very successful over the years with this kind of thinking. Look around. People are working hard. So you can't take significant amounts of time out of a process by making people work harder or faster.
It's not that people are lazy or incompetent. Of course they're not. And all the steps in the process probably made sense at one time. But when you focus on the entire process instead of the individual steps, and when you analyze what's really important to the customer, you begin to see that the process has become overcomplicated. There are a lot of steps that don't need to be in there. So what we're talking about is getting those obstacles out of people's way so they can add the value they know how to add.
Yes?
Sorry to bother you, Al, but I just need a quick signature on this amendment to the RF-12, which, as you know, has to get over to Terry and Jan right away pronto so we can zip it down to legal, shoot it over to inventory, get it over to shipping, and blast it off to the customer.
Scott, I've been thinking about something here. Maybe you can help me with this. Could you just review the steps in the RF-12 process for me?
Steps?
Steps, the sequence of events. What happens?
I'm not sure I know them all.
Just try.
Well, let's say that Barry fills out the RF-12 in the field. Then it comes back to Christine in the office, who carefully reviews it for correct information. Then it goes to Jackie, who assigns it the all-important customer account number. Then she makes 5 copies. She sends one over to Marty for a credit check, one to Jose in technical, one to Julie in customer service, one to Roger in legal. Then
Well, what happens to the 5th one?
she files it. Then, if there's any mistakes, it comes back to Jackie, where it runs through the whole process again. Finally, she runs it by 2 managers, notifies 1 VP, then it sails down to inventory with Ken, who shoots it over to Darlene in shipping, who zooms it out to the customer, and voila. And I'm happy to say that our department has won 3 consecutive quality awards for our work with the RF-12.
Scott, how much time would you say it takes to process the RF-12, on average?
Month, if all goes well.
A month. And of all the steps that you've outlined here, which ones would you say the customer really cares about?
We don't deal with the customer.
Okay, let me sign this for you here. There you go. Scott, why don't you watch this with me?
I'm kind of busy.
It's about cutting time out of processes. Sit
I got a lot
down.
of work to do.
Sit.
So you can't take significant amounts of time out of a process by making people work harder or faster, because people really aren't the problem. Check it out for yourself. Walk out into your department. Stand in the middle and look around. You'll probably find your people are 99% busy.
You can say that again.
Now check out the things people are working on, the orders, the reports, the paper. Look at how many of those things are out there and how many of them are being touched by human hands. Because if nobody's working on them, it's a good bet that no value is being added. Our rule of observation is, although people are usually 99% busy, the things going through the process, whether paper or product, are 99% idle.
Yeah, like that RF-12 form.
What you have to do is look at the process from the perspective of the thing that is going through the process. And most important, you have to identify each step that happens to the thing as one that adds value for the customer or one that doesn't add value. We call this a value-added flow analysis.
But how do you know if a step adds value?
How do we define value-added? There are 3 criteria, and a step has to pass all 3 to qualify. First, a step adds value if the customer recognizes it as important. If the customer doesn't care about it, you're not adding anything. Second, a step adds value if it physically changes the thing. If you just move it from one inbox to another, or file it or copy it, that's not adding value. And third, you add value if you do the step right the first time. Clearly, the customer doesn't want to pay for correcting something when it should have been done right in the first place. Now, to do a value-added flow analysis the right way, you have to imagine yourself as the thing and see the process from its point of view. You'll discover there are a lot of steps and a lot of time that the thing spends doing nothing.
Okay, let's try this. Let's say that you are the RF-12. All right, that's you. Okay? Now, what happens to you, the thing?
So you want me to be the RF-12, right?
Exactly. What happens to you right from the beginning?
Okay, let's see. The RF-12 order is taken in the field. Then, in the office...
Well, what happens between taking the order and the office?
I was put in a briefcase where I sat for 2 days.
Uh-huh.
Then I was faxed into the mailroom where I was logged in.
Go on.
Then I sat in Christine's inbox for a day and a half.
A day and a half?
Yeah. Then she reviewed me. Then she waved me around for about 3 hours while she was trying to reach Barry to get some missing information. Then, after another day, she finally put me into Jackie's inbox, where I stayed for 2 more days before I finally got my all-important customer number.
So you're saying that between the time that the order is taken and you get the all-important customer number, You have 13 steps over a 6 or 7 day period?
I mean, you're calling those steps?
From the RF-12 point of view, they are.
I guess you're right.
Okay, go on. Okay, there's the process.
What a mess.
Okay, now, which one of these adds value to the RF-12? And remember, it's got to meet all 3 criteria. Does the customer care about the step? Does the step physically change the RF-12? And what was the third one?
Is it done right the first time?
Now, which of these add value?
Take the order, definitely.
Right. Customer cares and physically changes the RF-12 if you do it right the first time.
Pick the order.
Right. Customer cares, physical change, right the first time.
Ship the order.
Mm-hmm.
Customer, physical, right the first time.
So, we add value to the RF-12 in 3 out of the 29 steps?
If all goes well.
What percentage of the total time do you think those steps represent?
Couple of hours.
Out of 4 weeks total.
And that's the way we've always done it. It's hard to believe. Oh, sorry, Al, I gotta get back to work.
With all the value-added flow analyses we've done, we keep getting the same kind of numbers. Process after process and industry after industry. Only 10 to 15% of the steps in most processes add value for the customer. And those value-adding steps typically represent only 1% of the time a thing spends in the process. And that's why, as a practical matter, in every process we've ever encountered, at least 75% of that non-value-adding time can be eliminated. We've seen a customer order process cut from 2 days to 2 hours. We've seen a mortgage approval process cut from 5 weeks to less than 5 days. We've seen a new product development process cut from 36 months to 8 months.
One of the most interesting things you find is that as you take time out of processes, your quality results go up. Part of the reason is that things like inspection and rework loops are non-value added. And if you're going to take those steps out, you've got to get rid of the need for them. You've got to do things right. Also, when you've taken time out of a process, if something does go wrong, the problem will be discovered sooner. The trail will still be warm, so you can track it back to the root cause and eliminate it. There are a lot of improvements like that waiting to be made, but before you can make them, you have to get over the old mentality of that's how it's always been done. And once you do that, you begin to picture some very powerful possibilities for change.
Suppose we could complete an RF-12 in 1 week instead of 4. How would that affect us?
I'd spend less time expediting, hand-carrying, explaining, and requesting.
I'd spend less time checking, chasing, correcting, and revising.
I'd spend less time copying, routing, receiving, and inspecting.
We'd all spend less time on review, inspection, approval, and rework, which means more time spent on the steps that the customer cares about.
We'd be more responsive.
Get better quality results.
Be more competitive.
More able to give the customers what they want.
Most important of all, as you remove steps from a process, you find you have a clearer view of the customer. You can develop products and services that better fit customer needs, and you can get them to market faster. But it's not just how fast you can do things. You find that you can add value in ways you'd never even thought of before. For example, suppose it takes you 4 weeks to process a customer order, but suppose your customer uses your product every week. That means that in order to do business with you, the customer has to forecast how much he'll need over a 4-week period, accept shipment of a month's worth, and store it until it's needed. But if you can cut your process down to 1 week, you can ship your customer a week's worth every week, and that cuts out all the hassle of forecasting and storing and tracking for the customer. And that's precisely the kind of value added that customers are demanding, and it's being asked of organizations of all sizes in every industry. And now you can do it by focusing on time.
Signatures, Al.
Great, Maggie. I want you to watch this.
To provide more value to customers today, companies have to focus on taking time out of processes. because it's only by doing this that you can be nimble and agile enough to respond quickly to your customers' needs.
Wow. Sit.
People aren't the problem. They're busy 99% of the time. But when you focus on the thing going through the process, you find that it's idle 99% of the time. By doing a value-added flow analysis, you can analyze every step in the process and determine which ones add value and which ones don't. There are 3 criteria for defining a value-added step. The customer has to care about it, it has to physically change the thing in process, and it has to be done right the first time.
There are all kinds of benefits you can realize by taking time out of processes. You can deliver products and services to the customer faster. You can get new products to market sooner. Your quality results go up. You spend less time doing unnecessary tasks that don't add value, like checking and expediting. And you may find whole new ways to add value for your customers that you've never even thought of before. It's all right there for you when you begin to operate in this new dimension of quality.
I think this is a program we should all see from the beginning. Oh, Christine, good. You got a minute?
Well, I was just on my way down to legal.
Just take a couple of minutes. We're all going to watch this program.
What's it about?
It's about time.